And then joining her on stage is our national artist, Mr. Ryan Cayabyab. So, just a side note, alam niyo guys, I host events a lot, but this is the only time I'm actually physically nervous because I'm beside two people that intimidate me so much. but, but, of course, we'd like to know more about the project and we'd like to hear it from them mismo. So, I'd like to invite Ms. Lea Salonga to share a few words about Bahaghari.
Thank you. Good afternoon to our friends from the press who are here today. Thank you for braving the traffic and taking the time out to spend your afternoon with us. It's great to see many friends gathered here. This is, I guess we could consider this parang a labor of passion and love. We were approached, first of all, by a couple of people who had the Global Language Project, Rex Niswander and Angela Jackson, to add to an existing series of albums for children. The first one being Coloreando, which is in Spanish and it has won a Grammy Award, and Aquarela, which is in Portuguese. And so now we've added, this is the third in a series called Bahaghari, and each of the titles is a colorful title. So of course we put rainbow. And there are songs in the album that come from different parts of the country, different dialects, different languages, which was a musical adventure for me that speaks English and Filipino and Tagalog. To sing in another dialect was difficult, challenging, but was such a wonderful experience to do. When we were first approached, I think the first thing was we wanted in Filipino, and my answer was to Rex and Angela, you can't have an album representing the Philippines without it featuring different dialects, because the Philippines is such a diverse country with diverse cultures and dialects and languages. It wouldn't be correct if it was an album in only one. So Mr. C compiled a list of songs that we could record and narrowed it down to the ones that ended up being recorded. And it was 3 days, 4 days? 4? 3? I can't remember. Tagal na eh.
The fourth day was only to
redo what I know. Yeah, at Gerard's request. Mr. C tapped some of our favorite arrangers and instrumentalists to create the arrangements. People that we had just worked with so much, and in a couple of cases, people that I had worked with, but not in this capacity. In the case of my dialect. But then all the instrumentation is simple, single instrument, 2 instruments. The most full-blown it ever gets is what I, which is a few, which is like maybe piano, bass, drums, guitar, if that. Which is parang jazz, yung
yeah.
So that's as fully orchestrated as it ever gets. And of course it's Gerard who does it. But a lot of it was kept so simple at the request of GLP. And it was just the most fun because we did it in sound design, which is owned by Sheila Francisco, which meant that there was food every day that we recorded it, and it just felt like the most enjoyable recording process, and it was that feeling of we are doing our part in preserving some of our heritage and our culture by doing this.
Thank you, Ms. Lea Salonga. Your thoughts in producing this beautiful album?
When Leia called me, actually she emailed me. She said she has this project and she wanted to work with me. And all I needed to do was prepare about 30 songs, 30 folk songs and traditional songs for her to choose. And then I got to work with the producers, si Rex Miss Wonder and Angelique Jackson, global language project. And the request was to keep it simple, to keep the arrangements very light and simple. And so the first thing I did was look for young arrangers, meaning not my era arranger, but the next generation arrangers, because I wanted to share with them. I wanted them to explore. As a matter of fact, the reason for getting the younger arrangers is they really have to explore also and share the idea of Filipino folk songs and traditional songs with the young people. So the best people would be the young people to experiment on the sound. And also, I wanted to make sure that the sound was not my generation sound again, but more nearing millennial sound, meaning our audience is very young, so we wanted to communicate to them. So I was thinking that those arrangers, the young arrangers, have idioms, musical idioms that they share, the sound that they share with the young people. So that's one. Number two, I have produced 2 Lea albums before with Sony BMG. Was that Sony BMG or BMG lang? Sony BMG, right? And then prior to that, Lea sang for an album entitled Silver. That's the first time we did an album together. Silver was my 25th anniversary album, and that was the first time I produced for Lea. And so I knew how to work with Lea. Ang bilis, as usual. She comes to the recording prepared, and actually halos memorized yung mga Filipino songs. The only thing we did was to double check. I had people on call, meaning I called live my friends from Ilocos and from Bicol, because I wanted them to tell Lea exactly what the words mean and how they are pronounced with the right inflection. So they talked to Lea. So nakakatawa kasi yung taga Ilocos, he's a young choral conductor. When he heard that I called him, when he said that, when I called him, I said, okay, I'm with Lea Salonga, but I told you I was gonna call you because I need help with Ilocano Amolinawin. You have to tell her how it is, what it means, and how to say it. Before he talked to Lea, he announced to everybody in the house, Mama, nandito si Lea. Anyway, what am I saying?
You're just talking about the album.
I'm just talking about the album. Ano lang, chinichismis ko lang. So anyway, that's part of it. We had a grand time, sabi nga ni Lea, because we recorded in digital sound design. And si Sheila Francisco always had food. She prepared food for us. Yeah, Charlotte.
Thank you, po, Mr. C.
They have this project with other countries as well. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I think if they have a website, it'll be probably a much better resource.
How did
But
it,
it fell on my lap. It was my manager and my attorney that first got wind of it, and then they presented it to me. And then I had lunch with Angela and Rex, and this is when all of the question and answer was taking place over a nice lunch. And they presented Coloreando and Aquarela as the 2 albums that they had already done, and that they were both received very, very well. Because these were the songs of the childhoods of the artists. So I think ultimately that's kind of what it needs to be. So a lot of this music is stuff that's been buried since I was a toddler. And then they were asking, would you like to do one? Would you like to be a part of this? And we'll create this album in Filipino. And I'm like, wait, if we're gonna do this, we have to represent different dialects, different languages, because the Philippines is not just one. It's not just Tagalog, and it should never be just Tagalog. Which kind of connects to that whole other thing about striking Filipino for college, but I have another take on it. Yes to it being in high school. As for college, I'll answer that later. So we felt an obligation to represent as much as we could, and I guess as much as my brain could handle. Given that Bicolano and Ilocano are two completely foreign languages to me. Kapampangan, that's my father's side. Ilonggo, that's my mother's side. Cebuano, I have a lot of friends that speak it, so I've heard it even if I don't understand it, so I can kind of find my way around it. But all the other ones felt foreign. Medyo nakakahiyang sabihin, ano, na languages from your own country are actually as foreign as sa dami ba naman, di ba? That it feels as foreign as, say, Japanese or Malaysian or Indonesian art. So, in jumping into this adventure, I've kind of acquainted my brain with a little bit more about what's here. Just for fun, and it was fun to do.
2 cents. I had very informal talks with Rex, his mother, and Angelo Jackson. Angela, I think, is an educator. And one of the, I think I believe in their mission and vision, which is actually to use language as a means to understand other cultures. So when they were telling me that it's an organization which tries to promote understanding of cultures, again, through language. And the best language should be to use music and words of the young, traditional and folk songs that are sung by the young people of the country.
Yeah, the intention really was to have young school children in the States listen to this kind of album. Like, that was the primary intention of why these were produced. That's why it's Spanish first, because there's a large Spanish-speaking community in New York City. And then it extended to Portuguese and now Filipino. But it also would be a cool tool to have. It's a good educational tool here also, because we're all kind of insulated in our own bubbles. You know, I mean, we're an archipelago. We just can't help that. I mean, we're separated by salt water. We don't always know what's going on in our own country just because of the nature of it. So hopefully more people from here get to hear this album. I mean, never mind my voice, that's fine. But listen to the language, listen to what your neighbor in another province is trying to say, or what the kind of music that has come from there.